Hello, I am going to be talking about the bridging the gaps, how law enforcement, courts, and corrections work together. Um, I wanted to start this off by kind of identifying each each category and then talking about their roles. Law enforcement is the ones who investigate and make arrest, and the ones who gather information. They are basically the first responders. They're the first ones on the case. They are kind of the first people you talk to, I would say. Um, and they maintain public order. They by responding to emergencies, um, and making sure people are abiding by the law, like when they pull us over for speeding or give us a ticket for parking in the wrong area or something like that. Um, and by that, they're preventing crimes. Um, and once their case that they're working on, once they've arrested the people, once they've done their job by gathering the evidence, they basically pass over the torch, the baton, to the court system. And the courts manage legal proceedings. That is where you will basically get an attorney. Either the courts will give you one, or you'll have a personal one, or something like that. They are the ones who kind of determine your innocence or guilt. They um, determine the formal charges that you will be given, whether that's fees, probation, parole, incarceration, and I want to say like if you plea insanity or something like that. I'm not too sure. Um, but yeah, that is also where the verdict will be determined by the jury, whether you are guilty or innocent of the crime that you're being convicted of. Um, During the court hearing, it is expected to every citizen is entitled to a fair trial, and by the prosecutors and the judges and the juries expectation, I guess, would be to make sure that that's all happening, to have no biases. I think, as this class has shown with the cases that we have researched, I don't think that is entirely true a lot of the time, especially when it's a very passionate case and a case that people feel really strong towards. Um, And yeah, they create sentences. If you are found guilty, like I said, you'll be given fines or probation or parole. It kind of just depends on what you're found guilty of, I believe, and um, how many times you have been in the system, and I guess the degree of your crime. Um, and sorry. They also work with other branches, like they'll have officers, law enforcement, come in to testify, and try to kind of get their side of the story. Um, and um, they also conduct um, pre-sentencing investigations, which is kind of interesting, I guess. The corrections role is, I kind of took it as they're the ones who kind of make the punishments. In the beginning, it's kind of everybody's talking, getting things together, and then this is kind of the step where, okay, everything's said and done. Like, these are the things you have to do because of what you did. Um, what and They either your fate is jail, probation, parole, house arrest, things like that. Another thing is they want to focus on rehabilitation. As these offenders are criminals, they still are human at the end of the day, and um, they try to help the offenders come back into society and not reoffend by giving them programs or like supervision or little steps like that to be able to have them be a normal part of society, get a job, vote, get an education if they don't have one, um, and kind of just get back out there and try to get a better life so they aren't reoffending and wasting people's money for reoffending. Um, and they also have like uh, agencies that provide like post sentencing thing like help, I guess. One thing with that though, I had did a little bit of research and it says that it's required sometimes required with like police cooperation, like law enforcement, like sorry, cooperation with law enforcement, which is kind of sketchy in my opinion, just because like again, like how we have seen, especially with the Joshua case, that doesn't always help you out. Sometimes it makes your life a little bit harder, and it's um, not always in the best interest, I should say. Um, Another point, points of friction or breakdown. Um, in the way I understood it was like the pressure to say that you're guilty, just to basically kind of get on with it, especially with heavy caseloads. The prosecutors and the courts kind of push the plea deals just because it's faster, and sometimes when you get a plea deal, it's better for you. You won't have to do as much time, pay as much pay like more money, um, and it could benefit you to take it, and it's less money for people, everybody involved. Um, but on the opposite side of that, defendants who can't afford a lawyer or attorney, they are given a state appointed attorney, which is provided by the state, paid for by the state, I believe. But that kind of gives you a disadvantage just because if you are somebody who can afford a attorney, you are able to get a little bit, you just have a little bit better person to represent you, and he or she will probably work a little bit harder, rather than somebody who was just given this case probably a week ago or a couple days ago that has 100 more cases to focus on, and you probably won't get the best representation, and just probably someone you might not want to trust with your fate, and things like that. Um, but there is a case that I did do a little bit of research on. I'm not too sure how to pronounce their name. Khalif Brawler. He was arrested in 2010 at 16. He spent 3 years on Rikers Island. He was in solitary confinement, and he during that time he wanted to take his own life. He tried to take his own life while in solitary confinement, but also outside of it as well. He was very depressed, had a lot of mental health issues coming out of the Riker Island, and he was also beaten and assaulted by guards, police officers, and other inmates. Um, he was somebody who kind of got the short end of the stick on that one, and he seemed like the best fit for this portion.